Good morning, campers. Happy Monday. And you know what it means. Masculine Monday. Last Monday before Valentine's. Powerful love energy. So we're going to do a reading for a collective of divine masculines on a journey. We're going to start from where's your energy? How are you feeling? And then we'll just see. I kind of grabbed a lot of decks, so we'll try to a little bit of maybe love reading with some guidance. We'll see depending on on where's your energy. I'm hearing guidance for this week, so maybe this week is important for this collective. Let's see. Where are you energetically? How are you feeling, my beautiful masculines? How are you feeling? Where are you energetically? Okay, your first card, the Devil. The Devil. Trigger. I'm hearing some trigger has been activated within the last day. So maybe there's a reason this reading found you to help you through it. To give some clarity, to give some guidance. Temptation, I'm hearing as well. Tell us more. It's kind of a tricky energy. For your first card. Hold on. But I paused on 133, which is good. And I was actually thinking, and I wanted to say that although it's a tricky energy, sometimes it's going down that helps us to ascend. It's taking a step back that helps us to take a leap of faith. We need to face our shadows. We need to face our darkness. So sometimes we fall into our darkness, what seems like a step back, what seems like stagnation, what seems like a lot of darkness. But what do I always teach you guys? My favorite phrase of all times: it is always darkest before the dawn. So, Seven of Wands. Maybe your defensive shield, but the good shield, the boundaries shield, is being tested. This card is in this deck specifically talks about protecting your inner truth, protecting your authentic self. So maybe the shadow in the past, maybe you struggled really with standing up for yourself, with having those boundaries. Boundaries, I highlight this to you guys always. Boundaries are a natural byproduct, an energetic shield that protects our life force energy and our existence, but they're natural byproduct of self-love, worthiness, and sense of authenticity and sense of inner self. So when someone doesn't love themselves, when someone isn't connected to their inner truth, they naturally give away their power, right? They're people pleasers. They change and they shift depending on situation, depending on environment. They don't have this. We have the Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of the deck. So I feel like it may be that something has been triggered, a situation, a test. I'm hearing that in the past you would cave. In the past you would not really even have the need. It's all subconscious, right? It's not like people that are people pleasers realize that they're people pleasers and realize that where it comes from, right? Sometimes many people say to themselves, it's just this it's this misunderstanding sometimes of compassion and kindness, right? Someone who is kind and compassionate is not a doormat to others, is not someone who has zero self-love, someone who allows others to disrespect them, to mistreat them, to treat them like a tool or like a toy, right? So we can be very compassionate and we can be very kind, but in the same time have very strong boundaries and understand that we always have to protect our energy. Let's do 3 more for your first row to have a visual of the situation. I'm going to do 2 more. Oh. Face down. They're all face down. So maybe as it was happening, it's coming to my mind, you didn't see exactly confirmation as it was happening. Sometimes it does happen. Sometimes it does happen that when we are tested, in a moment of test, we don't realize yet, if we're not pros on this journey, if we're not very deeply anchored in a sense of self, we don't necessarily realize in the moment, that this is a test. This is something that I have to really go inwards, go deeper, figure it out, right? So maybe this reading will be a bit of a clarification for you. Maybe you already realized, but you're still a little bit lost. How should you act? How to find a balance? I am hearing that this is something related to a connection. So I'm not sensing that this is a boundary that you need to put with someone that is someone that is not dear to you, right? Because again, it's a little bit easier to put in a boundary with a stranger on a street, with a boss, with your neighbor, right? With someone that you're like discussing with, like a stranger in line. But it's difficult with people that are dear to us, with people who are our dear friends, with people who are our family, with people that maybe they are karmic connections, but they're not karmic connections that we want to remove from our life, right? We want these people to stay. We don't want to hurt them. We want to have that consideration. And I feel like these are the biggest tests and the strongest tests. There is a very, in the center of your spread, we have Three of Pentacles. You would be in this energy that you no longer are thinking only about yourself in a situation. You are thinking more about others. You are considering the emotions of others, the feelings of others, which is a beautiful thing. There's this I'm feeling into more of a self-awareness, right? So you would be working on yourself, working on your inner self, on certain concepts of understanding maybe your shadow side and certain patterns and mechanisms. I feel like recently something happened that made you struggle to find balance. How do I put in boundaries? Okay, how do I say no to things that feel uncomfortable to me? How do I say no to things that I don't want to do? How do I say no to things that I don't believe in? And maybe even I'm hearing topics of conversations, people talking about things that you deeply disagree and you kind of wanna make a stand, but how do I do that in a balanced way? So I have my boundaries, so I love myself, so I'm not that people pleaser, I'm not that doormat, but in the same time, I don't hurt people that perhaps, and this is the tricky part, sometimes we have to put up those boundaries with people that don't have higher level of self-awareness, higher level of consciousness. So they're going to take it personally. They're going to take it to the heart. They're going to take it like as you are offending them, like you are not honoring the relationship. But what do I always highlight to you guys? No one said it would be easy. No one said this journey would be easy, right? We really have to continue to work on the strength and the anchor of our sense of self, authentic self, self-worth, self-love, to the point that the boundaries will just be natural. And when we will understand that all we can do is to translate those boundaries in a thoughtful, kind, empathetic, and compassionate way by how the other person reacts to it, it is not on us. It is not our problem. It is their projection. It is their shadows. It is their journey. We cannot cave our authentic self for another person. Let's do another row to get more details. What's this shadow? Tell us more about the devil here. I feel like maybe you've been dealing with a lot emotionally recently, like a lot of things have been happening, which wouldn't surprise me because we are in a very important, energetically, collectively, in a very important moment. Switch of that end of the shedding, beginning of the fire horse, switch and a waiting room in between two big 9-year cycles. But I feel like you have been working on yourself. I feel like you have been really putting in effort. You wouldn't be like completely new to this. So you will get through this. You will find your way, right? You will find your way. It's matter of not giving up on yourself, on your journey, and matter of understanding that, again, we do not exist here in this world to please others. We come here to thrive. And if those of us who have higher level of consciousness and are put on a path where you have the capacity to grow, to expand, our role is to show the way to others, to be the beacon of change within others, right? Not to cave towards where functions on the denser frequencies, right? So however you feel this person will react, it maybe will be difficult for them. Again, I promise you that if you deliver this message with kindness, with compassion, with assertiveness and strength, they will feel into that energy. And I find that when we are changing, as we are constantly, going through deaths and rebirths and shedding our skin and familiarizing ourselves with our new persona, and to you, I feel that the strong sense of self and strong boundaries is something that is new. We have to free again. So maybe that's important. Maybe you're seeing this number a lot. Maybe it's significant. 13th of the 3rd as well. 133, maybe it's a house number as well. Maybe may have a meaning to some of you. You can also check that as an angel number. But it's a new beginning. It's action. It's finally this realization that it's go time. It's time to change. That whatever internal change has happened within me, it's time to externalize it, right? So it's always a little bit difficult because you have to get used to the new you, and people around you have to get used to the new you. And you need to give yourself time, and you need to give them time. But with time, they will get used to it. In time, they will get used to it. In time, they will understand that you grew towards a different direction, and they will just get used to the new you. Because, again, remember, people treat us the way we allow them. People treat us the way we taught them to treat us. So if you allowed to be a doormat to someone, if you allowed to be emotionally manipulated without you knowing, and do things to please people that you love, although these things were against your inner truth, against your will, against who you are, it will take a bit of time to settle, but it's okay. It's all good. We have the Sun and we have the Empress. They came through together. What I immediately heard with this one is the Empress showed itself to me as a mother figure, or it may be to some of you, it may be a feminine figure, but the Sun represents the masculine, the Sun represents the awakening, the Sun represents the enlightenment. It's the light and it's the shadow, right? So I feel that for this collective, whether I'm hearing two things, maybe two things. So either you directly have a situation right now with your mother where your mother is the person that you need to put up a boundary with, or through this boundary situation that you need to put up with someone, you are realizing how much the shadow that is standing in between you and that boundary, in between you and that authentic sense of self, that shadow that you need to integrate right now, comes from the stored that feminine energy, mother wound, right? And I'm seeing a reversed Queen of Cups. So for you, the distortion in the feminine energy, if you're first time watcher here, I can offer you an explanation that probably those who watch me already, know, because I repeat that as a mantra. We all have a mother wound, right? To a certain extent, a mother wound and a father wound. And it is just a distortion in the feminine energy around us. So it can be a mother or a feminine caregiver. Sometimes it comes from a variety of people, that distortion. And it doesn't always mean that the mother was evil, that she was not there for you, that she abandoned you, right? But it's a distortion. And I find that the trickiest wound to work on, because we don't see it immediately, is the mother that actually she was there. She loved you, she cared for you, but her own energy was distorted. She didn't love herself. She herself didn't have boundaries. She herself was a doormat to others. She was emotionally unstable. So you learned, seeing her constantly confirmation in a distress, in anxiety, in crying, in pain, in not being able to deal confirmation to deal with her own shadows, with her own weaknesses, with her own emotions, with her own emotional inner world, which is something that the feminine energy should master. Watching her like that made you become a people pleaser, because you didn't want to add to her suffering. But without you knowing, you would never add to her suffering. Her suffering was of her own doing, of her own distortion, of her own lack of self-love. And it's a very challenging shadow for a masculine to overcome, because it is the mother, it is the feminine that is meant to teach us self-worth and self-love, not through repeating to us that you're worthy and I love you, but through embodiment. This is the biggest misconception that causes people to not understand the mechanism. When we talk about that your mother didn't teach you self-love, we don't mean that she didn't love you and she can love you and she can repeat to you 10 times a day, my son, I love you, you're amazing, you're the best, you're the most smart, the smartest, the most handsome, everything. But if you watch her not love herself, not put up healthy boundaries, not respect herself, not honor her worthiness, her femininity, energetically, this is what she will teach you. So the lack of healthy boundaries, self-love and self-worthiness always comes from a mother wound. Always comes from a mother wound. Let's continue. A really big shadow to break through. The Lovers. The Lovers, but I'm hearing with those Lovers that it's more the balance within, because the Lovers cards, Gemini is coming to my mind as well, Capricorn, Gemini, Virgo energy. The Lovers card is about inner union, the balance of the masculine and the feminine, the union in divinity with God, with source. I feel there's a deeper sense here. You would be going through a lesson of love in its purest form, understanding that love always starts from self-love. Love doesn't cave. Love ain't weak. Love ain't people pleaser. Love ain't a doormat. Love has boundaries. Love has boundaries, right? And it may not be easy. Again, no one said it would be. But the more you break that generational trauma, right? That if your mother had that distortion, it must have came from her mother and her mother. This is how it works. If you will be the one to break that trauma and to break that distortion, to heal that distortion, and teach yourself unconditionally to love yourself, to acknowledge your worth, to allow yourself to put up boundaries, to say no to things that don't feel comfortable. With time, change is often a challenging period for human beings. We don't embrace it enough. In time, you will notice how you will help her as well, how you will help her to heal that distortion within her as well. And I find that it's a common misconception when we talk about love, especially when we talk about relationships, children and parents. Love does not mean, and in relationships as well, love does not mean to allow someone to do whatever they want. When you love somebody, it's not what love is. So when you love your child, it doesn't mean that I love them, so I'm going to allow them absolutely everything that they want, because your role as a parent is through love, educate them, right? To be able to function in a society as someone who is healthy, who is strong, who has boundaries, again, right? So by caving to whatever situation, whatever manipulation, whatever is it that you need to put up boundary, by caving, you're not showing love. You're actually, it's not love. It's not love towards yourself, and it's not love towards this person, whether it's your mother or someone else. It's not love. It's a fear-based, lack of boundaries, caving, not honoring your own self, your values. It's not love. You have to understand that. We have the Emperor. That is really nice. We have the Emperor, and we have the Sun here. You have a lot of masculine energy in your masculine and in your energy, but what I'm seeing as well, I want to do two more. I feel like you're really starting to hold the reins on your shadows, because you are sitting in the masculine energy, but that masculine energy is not deprived of compassion, collaboration, love, so the feminine side. So you would be perhaps even anchoring yourself in your masculine energy. There is a bit of a crossroad. There is a bit of a balance. There is a bit of a right. So you need to find that balance. You need to teach yourself to really, this is how we anchor ourselves in inner union, right? So on this journey, we start from healing. We heal our masculine, we heal our feminine, and all the shadows and all the wounds that link to these two energies. And once they are healed, we start to teach them to work with each other, right? So to work with inner union, to have that healthy union within, where the masculine and feminine operate in synergy, right? So you listen to your heart, you listen to your intuition, and you communicate that to your masculine, who has the strength to protect it, to execute it, to externalize it, right? And I feel you are already there, but this final piece is to start to find the balance, because sometimes it's easy to understand certain concepts internally as we heal in that bubble, as we heal in that hermit, and then we need to externalize it. We need to start to embody it, right? And sometimes it's the theory versus practice. Sometimes in theory we feel like we understand, we get it, this is important, I've healed that. But then the test comes, and what do I highlight to you guys? Tests are opportunities for us to show that we are who we say that we are. It's in those tests. It's not, our growth doesn't happen in meditation and contemplation as we do breath work. All these spiritual practices are beautiful, but the growth happens when the test happens, when the situation happens, when we have the opportunity to actually embody what we've alchemized within. So I feel you are being given an opportunity to really learn that, first of all, anchor yourself in that inner union. Second of all, to learn that we influence each other. And if we want to help ourselves and we want to help others, sometimes the push towards healing, the push towards enlightenment, the push towards expansion of consciousness is discomfort. Right? So you can, whoever you're going to put up these boundaries, if you have the strength to deliver them with, again, with compassion, with kindness, day by day, step by step, you will help them to transform to some extent, right? And remember this is the ultimate truth, right? That people often forget as they start forming relationships. And again, it ain't always easy, but it's the truth. Whoever really loves you will always honor your boundaries. Always. Even if they won't understand them, even if they won't agree with them, even if they will cause them a little bit of discomfort and pain, whoever really loves you will always respect your boundaries. And on this specific journey, it's coming to my mind, I'm hearing it clearly. This is what you as a masculine, this is what your feminine teaches you, because she loves you. And because she loves you, there's a point of this journey when she honors you and your journey and your desire for freedom, and she steps back. She no longer chases, she no longer wants, she no longer begs. She holds this desire for union with you within her heart, because she understands that she cannot penetrate a shield and a barrier that you have put up. And yes, it's a little bit different because your barrier was made of shadow and not of the protective shield of the self-love. But it's also something that we have to learn, because in a healthy relationship, once we are in union, we also have to respect each other's boundaries and understand that someone putting up a boundary, it's not an offense towards us. It's not the lack of love towards us. It's just their boundary. We all have a right to have that boundary, right? So remember that whoever really loves you, as long as you are clear about your boundaries, you communicate where they're coming from, how it's making you feel, with, again, compassion, kindness, openness to have a conversation. Whoever cannot accept that, it is not on you. But if they really love you, even if they struggle, even if it will take them a little bit of time to adjust, they will ultimately respect that and honor that. Let's do 2 more. Woo! King of Wands. That's really nice. That's really nice. I feel you are powering through. You're finding strength. You're finding fire within. You are finding your masculine power. You are finding your masculine strength. We do have 4 of Swords. I was actually seeing this card, and when I was shuffling, I'm seeing it more. We're gonna clarify with maybe a couple of more cards, but it's with that 8 of Pentacles. So you would be feeling. I'm feeling that you are, whether you watch me, there's a reason I mentioned the waiting room in between cycles. So whether you watch me or not, and if you don't know what that means, you can sort of go back and look for some previous videos that I've done. I've been talking a lot about this. But I feel like you would really feel into that waiting room. You would energetically realize that you have been growing, you have been expanding, you have been doing that self-work, and now you find yourself in that waiting room that is a bit of a preparation for a new path and a new journey that will open. The gate for that will open with the new year, February 17th, as we're going to enter Fire Horse. And you would feel that you are a little bit in that rest period before action. But let me just pull 2 more. To figure certain things out, to balance certain things. We have that Queen of Cups at the bottom of the deck. I feel that you would have had in the past quite few feminines in your life, karmic connections that would represent that distorted feminine. So very manipulative, emotionally manipulative. And sometimes it's done in a conscious way and sometimes it's not. Remember what I mentioned. So sometimes you can have women who are very emotionally manipulative, but they don't do it from a place of maliciousness. They just don't know how to handle their emotions. So they'll say things, oh my God, but you do this and you're making me sad, you're making me stressed, you're making me cry. So they don't do it as a deliberate manipulation. They just don't know how to handle themselves. But it is your masculine strength that needs to have that boundary, that needs to recognize that. But sometimes they may do it deliberately. They may really consciously use an emotional manipulation to control you. So maybe you had that